Cosmic Warriors, and welcome to my Venus series. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the self-worth or the self-value of the Venus in Aries. Okay, now with that in mind, I would like to highlight that this video can also resonate for those of you who have Aries ruling your second house within your natal birth chart as well. Now, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about the Venus signs, the Venus houses, your Taurus house, the second house within astrology, then I have created a Taurus season / Taurus archetype ebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today. So with all that being said, then Venus in Aries, let's get into talking about your self-worth. Let's do this. So what I want to do is I want to start off by just explaining the second house within astrology, just really overall, okay? Because I think it's important because Venus does rule the second house and we really want to be looking at this in terms of self-worth. So the second house can provide us with some indication into how our identity and our security is formed based upon the things we attach ourselves to, whether that be money, whether that be materials, or people, or our belief systems, and so on. It's the second house that can be viewed as really representing the time in our lives, the stage of our lives by which we begin to become more consciously aware of our bodies. And according to Howard Sass-Bertaz, from around 6 months, we start to recognize that we actually have a body. And there's also research to suggest that we start to become more self-aware from around 18 months. Therefore, it's from the second house that we start to build upon who we are based upon the material world and how we then reflect on that material world. So you could say, or it could be suggested, that the products or the items or the materials that we own, they are a reflection of ourselves in some way because they reflect things about us. So our style, for example, they reflect our tastes, they reflect our likes and our dislikes, all these very Phoenician things. But they can also reflect our financial situation and our skills and our talents. I mean, say for example, you buy a new jacket. Well, is that new jacket, is it worth $10 or is it worth $2,000? And would you even own that new jacket in the first place if you weren't skilled in the job you work at in order to buy that very jacket? And so in this way, it's from the second house that we form our own sense of self-worth and value. So what do we value? Who do we value? And do we value ourselves and others? And also, what do we base our self-worth or value on? And why? So essentially, this is about you as a baby or as a toddler going outside of yourself in order to discover what's actually located within yourself. When it comes to you, Aries, we notice that the material world might have been delivered to you instantly. For example, food might have been provided for rather quickly. Maybe when you were hungry as a baby or as a toddler, your mother or your father came to you relatively fast and quickly. And if they didn't, you might have been quite frustrated. You might have even thrown a temper tantrum as a baby or as a toddler. It could have either been that, or there could have been aggression or frustrations towards you because of how instantly you wanted things whenever you were a baby or a toddler. Meaning that you might have been this sort of baby or toddler that was used to then having things your way, or if things didn't go your way, there could have been a lot of frustration. Basically, this was about you having your own survival needs met, so your own basic independent survival needs. Then again, it could just be the finances and materials were this active thing whenever you were being brought up. So maybe your parents, for example, were active workers. They were constantly, instantly providing for you and your family, and that's just something that you got used to. Or maybe your parents even encouraged you to then be pretty active when it came to the same things. You sort of instinctively got used to there being action happening when it came to being provided for, okay? So when it came to your household, when it came to your physical security overall, there was just a lot going on. And maybe things did not stay stagnant for very long. There were just new resources coming in, whilst there were also new resources being generated back out. And so due to this activity, you then started to instinctively act in the same way. And so now, maybe you are 16, maybe you're 20, maybe you're 25, maybe you're 30, and you've already experienced your Saturn return, and you're watching this video right now, and maybe you can relate to this whole taking action upon these same matters, you know? So maybe it is that you like to keep active when it comes to your budgets, when it comes to your finances and to managing your money. Maybe it is that you like to purchase items pretty quickly because that's what you want. Or maybe it is that you like to spend your money on things that you strongly desire. Basically what I'm trying to say here, Aries, is that there is an instant impulse when it comes to your spending habits, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to the material world, when it comes to the things that you own. And so you may act really impulsively, really passionately towards achieving certain financial successes and rewards for yourself because of how instantly it was provided to you whenever you were younger, whenever you were growing up. Maybe it could just be this quite impulsive aggression towards others, like, oh no, that's mine, you can't have it, no, I'm having it now, give that to me right now. You defend yourself against others who try to take money or materials from you. Maybe you fought or you still fight with certain family members or friends, for example, over your materials. Or maybe you now argue with a partner over them giving you something. Basically, you grew to have things your way and also on the time by the time that you wanted those things to be yours. Okay, so there can be a bit of impatience here, even when it comes to you wanting to gain new financial things for yourself. You may not be patient enough or sit enough through that or stick to it enough in order to see it really materialize because of how impulsive and impatient you can be when it comes to these things. You can basically be an instant person when it comes to gaining financial materials or when it comes to earning an income. Even on that note, you may get really impatient when it comes to how you earn an income. You may be in a certain job, and if it becomes too stagnant for yourself, you may get really bored really easily, really restless in that way, and then you may just decide, actually no, I'm going to go on to the next thing. But then you might not have thought about your finances and how that's all going before you then leave. You can just be a little bit reckless, a little bit careless when it comes to how you earn money. Now, with that in mind, Aries, if others, right, if they do not conform with what you want, you might force what you want onto them. You might force what you value onto other people. But it could also be that instead of you forcing what you value onto others, you might be this independent lone wolf when it comes to what you value. So you might not be overly concerned with what others think of it. And so in this way, you can be an individual when it comes to your finances and your materials. You might have actually been taught how to really provide for yourself whenever you were growing up. And so these are one of the things that you value. So what's valuable to you may be actually being able to provide for yourself. And if you ever feel like you can't provide for yourself, that can really scare you. You could have just grown up to become this leader when it comes to your finances and materials. And so you want to be the one who manages your financial affairs and you don't want anybody else. It's like, even if you, for example, decide to get into a relationship with somebody else and you do have Libra ruling your 8th house, you get into that relationship and you're going to be very good, very fair, very balanced when it comes to you sharing with another person in terms of your joint finances. But at the same time, you also appreciate your own personal financial matters. So maybe you have like a separate bank account just for yourself, or maybe you value just being able to spend money on yourself every now and then without the opinions of other people. Even if someone else says to you, oh, this is what I think of that material item you're about to buy, you're like, no, screw that, this is what I want to buy, this is what I like. And so yeah, having your own independent views on what you buy and what you own just might be very important and really valuable to you. And so you might actually base your self-worth upon you being able to get the things that you want, have the things that you have. Now, when it does come to your self-worth, Aries, whatever motivates you goes. So if it is, for example, that you're motivated by wealth, if you're motivated by money, you might base your self-worth upon these very things. But if you do, just be careful, because if by any stage, Aries, you have little money in the bank account due to any reason, okay, there could be sudden changes that just happen in our lives that are not within our control, okay? If at any reason that bank balance goes lower, you can get yourself into a rather self-defeating place where you then base your own inner worth upon your outer worth and what you have within the material world. And so what you might then do is you might compare yourself to other people because of this, or you might become rather aggressive and defensive towards others who are maybe succeeding more when it comes to their financial successes. So you might just get into this rather combative type of energy here. Or it could be a matter of you suddenly just landing a new job that pays way better than the last job that you had. But instead of really just allowing yourself to sort of patiently adjust to this new job, you know, where you then manage the finances and the budgets a bit more effectively, you may just sort of get ahead of yourself. You may misjudge the budget, you may misjudge how much money you're making and how you compare that to your own physical security, and then you might end up spending more than what you expected, then possibly resulting in potential financial difficulty as well. Then again, Aries, it could be that you're motivated by your skills or your talents, and you might actually base your self-worth upon these things. So maybe your skill is in cooking, and if somebody comments on your cooking style or on the taste of the food you just made, you may get a little bit defensive, you may take it a little bit personal. Then again, it could be that if someone gives you compliments on what you're cooking, you then feel really, really good and really energized by that, and you know from that validation that what you made was pretty damn good. Then again, it could also be that your self-worth could be based upon a certain talent. So maybe singing is something that you really love to do, and you may see yourself as a really great singer. If someone tells you that you can't sing very well, you might take it personal, or you may just be like, I don't care what you think. So yeah, basically you can get defensive over what others have to say about what you value, but then you can also just be more so like, I really don't care what you think, because at the end of the day, what I think of it is really what's most important. The same defensive attitude could just be when it comes to your body overall. You might be the type of person who really appreciates your own human body, who appreciates your sex appeal, you appreciate fashion and style, aesthetic and beauty and everything. So if others ever try to attack you when it comes to these things, you may fight back and defend yourself. You might just be this strong advocate for independent fashion and style, where it's about embracing the diversity in that way, that this is an independent sort of fashion line, this is another independent fashion line. So, you know, you might not be overly fond of, you know, shopping at like H&M or shopping at Topshop or shopping at New Look, but instead you may decide to shop from independent clothing stores. So you might just really appreciate the sort of the beauty found within people unapologetically being themselves, being comfortable in their own skin, owning their own style in a way by which they don't care what other people think. And in this way, you can be a pioneer when it comes to you being comfortable within your own skin. But you know what? Even if you do shop at H&M or if you shop at New Look, for example, how you then style those different pieces of clothing together is still going to show a lot of your own independence. Now, you also might be motivated by your desires, and what you desire, Aries, is going to be pursued passionately. However, if what you desire is a person, for example here, you might not stop until that person is yours. Now, this can be harmless and it can be innocent, of course, you know, but it can also be pretty forceful and abrupt and aggressive. So to that, what I'm going to say here, Aries, is be aware of your tendency of fighting for people who you wish to pursue that are not interested in you. Just be careful not to base your self-worth upon your passionate ability to pursue another person, Aries. Though still, let's say for example here, Aries, that your desire is to buy a new phone, or your desire is to buy a new pair of shoes. You most likely will not give up on that desire, but still, maybe as, for example, you saved like £20, £50 for the new phone, you then come across a new item that you really want to buy, that you're really excited to buy within that moment, and then what you do is you just spend the rest of that money that you had saved for the phone. So the key really here is found in you keeping focus on the desired outcome. But at the same time, be careful not to base your self-worth upon achieving this very same outcome. It's realizing that with or without that phone, you're still good, Aries. But at the same time, it's also about being realistic about the situation. So if you want to buy this new phone, right? Ask yourself if it's necessary for you to survive within this material world. I mean, if you think about it, right? You getting this new phone could result then in you being able to call your girlfriend or your boyfriend. It could result in you being able to answer emails at work. It could result in you being able to message friends in Australia. Or it could result in you being able to contact the company that you work for, that the headquarters are located in another city across the world somewhere. So yeah, it's being realistic about the phone, in that the phone is kind of necessary if you are to provide for yourself, or if you're to get financial stability or physical security. So it's just really seeing this as more of a resourceful thing, but at the same time also appreciating that with or without that phone, it does not give any indication into who you really are at your very core. So it's just really about understanding these things practically and realistically, rather than being reckless and foolish when it comes to your finances. So yeah, maybe it is that you just want to just spend that money on that new item that you want, and you have this I don't care attitude and I do what I want attitude, but then you also got to be aware of the consequences of that. So where will that end? Where will that put you then in the long term? What will be the consequences of the actions that you're making? So really taking the time to assess these things. And also try not to focus so much, okay? So much on the outcome of what you desire, rather than appreciating the value in the process of achieving what you desire. And by doing so, Aries, you can then form a much more sort of patient attitude when it comes to your physical and your financial security. Another quick thing I want to mention here, Aries, is that you might also base your self-worth upon how you actually earn a living. So you may be that type of Aries who says, oh, I would never dare do that job is just so boring, or that job is so beneath me, or that job is just horrible, there's no way. You may then actually identify yourself with that job if, for example, you have to go and work in that job, and then you may actually feel a little bit like, oh, this is what I'm doing now, oh, this is so crap, and other people are doing this with their lives and I'm doing this with my life, and this is so just lame and dull, and I don't want to do this. And so there can be this impatience that can build up, but then also your identity is being connected so much with this job that it can cause these frustrations within you. So just try to really see how you earn a living as not such a like self-identity thing. Just try to see it as more of a realistic thing, more of a really grounded, like practical thing of, oh, okay, so I need to make money because I need food. You know, try not to get so wrapped up in the job itself and how you're earning the money that it creates these internal frustrations and annoyances within you. Ultimately, Aries, the power found within this Venus sign and also within Aries ruling the second house is that you have the ability to encourage others to embrace and to value their own independence and individuality. And by you encouraging others to embrace these things and to assert themselves when it comes to these things, this in itself can then motivate you. It can then make you feel empowered. And by doing so, you can actually realize more of your own self-worth, because whilst you appreciate and give thanks to the individuality of others, you also appreciate your own. You can then start to realize that each person comes from a different walk of life and that the direction of your life is just as valuable as other people's. So Aries, what actions and choices have you made throughout your life? How do you measure your self-worth? Is it measured by your independence, by your courage, by your enthusiasm, by your passions, your desires? Or is it measured upon how you earn a living? Or do you measure your self-worth based upon how motivated you are to act upon the life that you choose to live? Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes the self-worth of the Venus in Aries / the Aries ruling the second house person. If you do have any other information you would like to provide, I would like to know, because honestly there's really not a lot of information that exists, I think, when it comes to self-worth in astrology. So any insight from yourselves would be really good if you have any of these placements. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button, and I will be back with the Venus in Taurus self-worth / Taurus ruling the second house self-worth very, very soon. Bye!